Afternoon Live. Wildfires, virtual school, working from home. Between all the stressors we're juggling right now, it's no surprise that many relationships are suffering. So here with tips on how to redefine and nurture your romantic relationship, we welcome back Maegan Megginson. Maegan, wonderful to have you, but I have to say,
Hey,
romance
Kara.
is like the last thing on people's minds.
It certainly is, and I think we have to redefine some expectations right now.
I mean, because you still have to keep that relationship going, and it's changed so much. I mean, I feel like every month is so different these days.
Oh man, it's true. I feel like we're in an unprecedented time where we're just getting smacked by one crisis after another. And the truth is there's no end in sight. So I, in my therapy office, am really starting to help my couples talk about how do we adapt our relationship to a longer term period of chaos and uncertainty. And that really doesn't scream romance, does it?
No, not at all, but you still have to do it. I love that you have ideas for unconventional date nights, because date nights are kind of like, I mean, I know that you say do them in the home, but that's really tough.
It is really tough. And so the first thing I want to say is, understandably, you're so right. We are all putting our relationships on the back burner right now. And it's normal to do that when we're talking about things like safety and income, putting food on the table, avoiding fires, literally and figuratively. It feels like our relationship and romance is the least important thing on the radar. But what I know is that it's often our relationships that give us the fuel to power through really hard times. If our relationships aren't doing well, everything else gets a whole lot harder. So what I want to talk about today isn't romance for the sake of romance, but really, how do we fuel up our relationship so that our lives feel a little bit easier?
All right, so kick us off. What do we need to be doing?
Well, the first thing is scheduling. I think scheduling right now is key. So we're going to talk about scheduling. We're also going to talk about flexibility. The first thing I want to suggest in terms of date night and how do we make the concept of date night work for us, given our current circumstances, is to keep things really simple. Right? We are no longer in a time of big productions and fancy reservations and flowers and lots of movie style romance. Let's just cut that from the list of expectations and really start to think about date nights in much simpler ways. Date night might be a 15-minute private conversation that you have with the door closed when the kids are eating dinner or after they go to bed. Or maybe your date night now happens on your lunch hour when the kids are on Zoom calls and you can step away from work. So we're really, let's change up our expectations and keep things really simple.
How do you make that exciting though? How do you actually say, okay, so we're having a date night and it's going to be our lunch break and it's going to be amazing. I'm going to look so cute.
Well, I want to say something kind of radical, which is that date nights might just not be exciting for a little while. And I think that is part of what it looks like to accept that you're in a really challenging time in your life. So part of what we have to let go of right now is the expectation that date nights are fun and exciting and full of romance. And that leads me into my second suggestion, which is that date nights right now really are serving two purposes for most people. The first purpose is it's a time to unload what feels hard. Right? It's really important that you're talking to your partner right now about your fears, your sadness, about all of the uncertainty. Those aren't fun conversations to have, but it's crucial to maintaining a healthy and strong relationship that you're leaning on each other for support. But we need to counterbalance that with lightheartedness, laughter, fun. So instead of thinking about date nights right now as being super exciting and romantic, I want you to think about them as being well balanced between the hard and the good.
So 2 questions you could be asking your significant other are what? Because sometimes just how are you doing right now? How are you feeling? It's kind of like, well, it's been 6 months, you know.
Yeah.
As far as is there
I think a couple good questions are, what are you feeling is a great place to start, but sometimes we need more probing than that. So maybe you can ask, what are you afraid of right now? What are you afraid of? Another question is, what's feeling sad to you? What have you lost this month because of the fires or because of the pandemic or because of not being able to go into work? What have you lost? Those questions really get us in touch with the anxiety and the grief that most of us are feeling. And on the flip side, also ask each other, what's a silver lining for you that's coming out of these crazy situations that we're in? What are you actually maybe enjoying a little bit more about life that you want to hold on to when things go back to normal?
And then you say, keep it simple. So
that's right. Keep it simple, keep it balanced. We can also talk about touch for a minute. So when it comes to sex right now, of course, sex is important. It's totally fine and normal if you do not have desire for sex right now. That is completely understandable given the amount of stressors that we're dealing with. But even if you don't feel desire for sex, I would still love for you to be scheduling time to touch your partner. And maybe that's a shower together or a cuddle in bed. Maybe it is sex if that feels accessible to you. Anything and everything is okay as long as we're still touching and getting that physical contact that we all need so badly.
And schedule it. That sounds kind of funny, but it is important.
So important. Yeah. Things are not happening spontaneously nowadays at all. So don't be afraid to pencil something into the calendar.
And then you say to normalize, how overwhelmed you are and you're feeling right now. What does that mean to normalize it?
Yeah, well, that's what you and I are doing right now, right? Just by sitting here together saying like, hey, I'm going through this. I'm totally stressed out and I'm exhausted. This is the first time I've done my hair and makeup in months. So just saying like, oh, we're here together. This is normal. What you're feeling is normal. The most important thing that we can all be doing with our partners, with our friends, with each other is to talk about how hard things are. That way nobody starts to feel crazy or like they're somehow not doing as well as everyone else. We're all a hot mess right now is the truth of the matter.
And then if you really feel like you've hit that rock, as far as, okay, I can't rock bottom, what can you do at that point when you feel like you've already dug this hole for a few months?
If you're really struggling, right, if you're having a hard time, if you can't even schedule time to be together and connect, then I really do encourage you to reach out to a certified couples therapist or sex therapist if you're struggling sexually. I will say that therapists are swamped right now. So you might find it's challenging to find someone with an immediate opening, but don't despair. Find someone you want to work with, go on their wait list. Just knowing that you're going to get an appointment soon, that can be a huge relief. And if you're lucky, you'll find something open right away. But don't feel ashamed or bad about yourself if you need professional support. We all need a little professional support right now.
Thank you so much, Megan. Appreciate it. Great seeing you.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.
You too.
Thank you. And we'll have information about Megan and these tips on our website at ka2.com. Do not move. More of Afternoon Live when we come back.